What is up, Whale family? This is Nytmare bringing you Hangtime, where we talk NBA Top Shot, the market, fantasy basketball, the league, and all things hoops and hype. Welcome everybody to the show today. I do know that some people have their attention split between designing a custom Mario Kart and checking out Hangtime with me. Don't worry, I am not easily offended. That is a tough choice, being such a Mario Kart fan that I am. I'm having a hard time being here and focusing on basketball as well. But there is a ton of stuff to talk about, so I did want to make sure that we have a chance to touch base today with everything that had gone on over the past week that was pretty exciting in the market relative to Top Shot, and I don't know that we all expected it to be. One of the major things that happened over the past weekend was Steph aping into Bored Ape Yacht Club at the same time the mutant hype was driving the bus and really causing a frenzy relative to Bored Ape Yacht Club. He popped in there and threw in a couple of selfies for people that were in disbelief, right? So that community just continues to blow up, and having the confluence of the NBA, potentially NBA Top Shot along with it, could be pretty crazy. And this was actually covered by our own Typo in the new NFT weekly highlights article, and he called it out here. And I expect more NBA players and celebrities to hop on board and continue with that train. The other big thing, of course, was the WNBA launch on NBA Top Shot. We will talk about that in just a bit, but always cool to see when mainstream media gives Top Shot attention, really calls into focus the longevity of the project and how stable it is, and the confidence that the league and the media surrounding it has in the product. So it was great to see Lisa Leslie hop on ESPN and really announce what they were doing with the WNBA launch, and possibly onboarding a bunch of new people to the platform, which is something that we had been talking about for some time. What could they do to ramp up where things had just been a trickle for a little while there? Other things of note in the NBA over the past week, I did notice that Jaylen Brown was trending on Twitter today. Nervously, I clicked on it just to find out it was relative to some list that had been created about the top shooting guards in the NBA and whether or not he should be on that, and some of the players that were ranked above him. So I love Jaylen. He can play a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde depending on the day, but he certainly did belong on that list. I'll let you guys search that out and check it for yourself. But the market, let's talk about the market. So it really heated up after our discussion last week and continued on that upward trajectory. And over the past week, the sales remained good. It peaked at over a $1 billion market cap, which we haven't seen for some time. Since then, we've seen a slight slide post the WNBA launch, and some of that excitement coming back down and tamping down a little bit, along with some market uncertainty, right? Like, people are concerned what Bitcoin and ETH are going to do at the moment. But that being said, the slide is relative. We're still at much higher, much elevated level versus where we were not long ago. So great to see we've sustained some of that momentum, and hopefully we'll carry that forward with some new stuff that NBA Top Shot has in the pipeline that we're likely not expecting. Now, relative to the sales volume, it was interesting right here. We had this flurry, absolute flurry, a local high of transactions leading into the WNBA launch. And in part, that was part of the mechanism that Top Shot had announced on how you could be qualifying for that, whether it was scooping some of these off of the market and some of the other rewards that were available there. So certainly was a driver, but we're seeing now things return back down to this 20,000, 30,000 transaction per day range, which has been our normal average for some time. So nothing to be concerned about there. And the market cap does remain to be elevated, right? So we plateaued at this high point. We may have seen a slight dip, but certainly we're sustaining momentum to where we were about 30 days ago. Relative to the whale vault, we are actually in a great position. $37 million on Moment Ranks, which has been the benchmark. So I'd like to continue to use that for the time being. I think that we actually had seen it at 38 million over the past week as well. So sustaining great value there for our vault and our community. And we had actually taken a look at what Evaluate Market had pegged us at. I believe last week it was $40 million. So currently sitting at $46 million on that. But again, we'd like to just stick with Moment Ranks for consistency's sake and use that relative to how we're swinging with the vault. But again, the vault is in great position. We'll continue to be in great position just because we have some unprecedented moments that Whale Shark doesn't intend to sell, right? So we will hold on to those most likely for a very, very long time and be one of the real trendsetters and value setters for the market. When you look at the individual series, we are still at such a significant growth versus where we are when this was benchmarked in early July. So versus 2 months ago, more than doubled on the base set for both Series 1 and Series 2. And if you look at this percent change, that's just relative to the snapshot that was taken on Friday, and that was right at the WNBA launch. So, a slight decline, but we're still holding significant value growth versus where we were at this point in time. And the other thing really worth pointing out here on these charts is we had been talking about how we just continue to plateau and just trickle upward with new user accounts that were coming into NBA Top Shot. And we saw this huge run up. I say huge relatively, right? Comparatively to what we had seen here for spikes, but a relatively big run up in new users driven by that WNBA launch. Now, is that actually a real jump in new users? Is it possibly inflated by people setting up new accounts because they wanted to try to qualify for the launch? Not certain, but we will see, long term what this means for the marketplace. If this was indeed new users, we would expect that the transaction volume and the dollar volume day to day should have a corresponding increase as well. The other thing I wanted to take a look at is, I had been benchmarking some moments that were interesting to me, things I had pegged for possible investment buys when the market was at a lull. Obviously, I missed that train and that bus that had gone out before I had the opportunity to get in. But that being said, I continue to look at it just because it gives me a good benchmark idea of what the market is doing. This Halliburton was one of the ones that were targeted. Unfortunately, I missed that bus, and it looks like it's sustaining its value, right? At peak, it was at approximately $420. Lowest ask, it's currently at $385. So a slight dip, but continuing to hold its value. Nothing compared to the $148 it was when I was eyeballing it. And likewise, this Jokic, I kind of use that as a benchmark because he was a little bit under the radar. His Series 1 moments in comments, I think we're at like $40-something, $50. That's continued to escalate. In fact, it's even higher than it was last week, right? I think last week, the lowest ask when we took a look at it was $122. It's currently at $155. So, this one actually isn't feeling the effect of the recent local lulls unless it actually was even higher, right? And I didn't take a look at it when it was. Just bear with me for one moment. Questions for the community relative to our sound. Want to make sure DC didn't mess it up again, as he's prone to do. And let's see what the community tells us. So again, if you are watching this live and you just heard me pause while I try to handle some sound issues, I fully blame DC, who is my peer on the whale team. Interesting. They're telling me there's no sound on Twitch as well. All right, so now I'm told that Twitch is good. Evidently, when Hustle Westbrook has to put this video up on YouTube, he will have to cut this out. Once again, audio issues caused by DC. I don't know why this man does this to me. It's not because I love pineapple pizza, because he likes it too, but he is my arch nemesis, and we will need to find a way to get back at him for this. So guys, we were just talking about the value sustaining on some of these series one moments that I had targeted, and that was kind of my benchmarking for how the market is performing. These guys that were under the radar at one point, and you could try to scoop one of their moments for $50 or so, is now $150. If I take a look at the individual series within NBA Top Shot. Oh man, now I'm hearing that there's a hot mic with someone eating. My goodness. This is just bananas. I don't know if you know what? I don't know. If anyone is watching this on Twitch and this actually sounds decent to you, it's quite possible that they are trolling me here and I'm just not aware of it. But this is one of the most ridiculous conversations with regards to sound that I have seen here. I think we're just going to continue on. I'm not really sure what's happening here. But relative to the actual market and what could possibly be targets for buys, I'm looking at what could potentially be sleeper sets, and it looks like everyone else is too. If you look at what has had a run up in pricing within the last 24 hours. You'd even extrapolate that out a little bit over the past week. You can see some of these tertiary sets that weren't high profile, weren't high targets for people, are seeing some significant growth, right? And so that's really being driven by people, I think, looking for opportunity buys. What's something under the radar that they could try to get in on and find some value? And so that's where a lot of the action is likely taking place right now. What else did we have over the past week? We actually had a absolute record breaking moment sale during what some people would have said has been a bit of a renaissance in the NFT market, but still not reaching the same heights that it had in the spring. Despite that, we have broken the heights for individual sales, right? So the Series 1 LeBron 2020 NBA Finals moment, the jersey match number 23 came through and sold for $230,000, nearly a $250,000 sale. I just tried to throw a server mute on evidently someone that was munching potato chips or hot wings or something like that. Probably while they're designing a Mario Kart car. So props to you for multitasking, but had to make the move to make sure everybody could hear what we say for the remaining whatever time we have before DC turns into a pumpkin. But hopefully you can hear me better now. Now, let's talk about the big news over the past week. The WNBA launch. The WNBA is now on NBA Top Shot. It was kind of low key. People had heard murmurs that this was coming, hadn't heard anything about it for a bit. And then people had caught mints of some of the WNBA players spotted on the Explorer. So they announced that the best of summer 2021 common packs would be releasing on Friday, August 27th. There were two queues, actually. There was a priority queue, and then there was a general queue. And to get into the priority queue, it was anyone who was in possession of a common Asia Wilson moment, which was actually gifted to brand new WNBA fans who joined during the week. And if you weren't one of those fans and were gifted the moments, you had the opportunity to possibly scoop it off of the open market so that you would have it and be first in line for that queue. And that kind of goes back to the conversation on, how exactly were they gating that to make sure what they got were genuine new fans and new moment and new people coming into the ecosystem and not other people just setting up new accounts. I'm sure Top Shot was aware that that would be a likely possibility and had some gating opportunities there that they could do. I'm not privy to what exactly they did, but I'm sure that they were aware that that could possibly happen as well, right? So there was actually lots of price action on this moment. If you take a look at it, there was a period here where it was in the $500 range or so, right? $400 to $500, right near the day prior to the launch. So a lot of people trying to get the moment and be able to, score the pack early. I think now it's at about the $88 range, right? So it had sustained for some time and retained some of its value, especially relative to the rest of the set. If you didn't scoop one, you could have gotten in the general queue at about 2 p.m. Pacific and try to scoop a pack. I think they released 50,000 packs. And I actually didn't have an opportunity to get over to my computer until late, well into the queue. And I almost squeaked in. I think when they ran out, I was 29th in queue and they had like 100 packs left or so. So really, really, really close. I'd seen lots of messages from the community that said that they were able to get in and scored some really cool moments. I seen a Sue Bird. I had seen some other things as well. So pretty cool that our community was able to participate and had some success. Additionally, they said if you were holding one WNBA moment as of today, actually, right? So at 12 p.m. Eastern, you actually earned a fandom tier WNBA moment in the coming days that you would get airdropped to you. So a lot of reward for being a participant in this and helping have a successful WNBA launch. With that said, right now, there is actually a showcase challenge. All you need to do is hold any 5 WNBA moments. You could score this Asia Wilson debut scoring moment. The interesting thing here is stacking moments are allowed, meaning you don't need to have separate individual players. You could have the same player 5 times and still qualify for this showcase challenge. If you look at the marketplace, looks like there's a $14 price floor, right? So if you wanted to complete this challenge, you could do it for $75 and score what looks to be a pretty cool moment. You have until Thursday at about 2 o'clock to complete this challenge. Let me make sure I have that right. We'll say 2 o'clock. Let's just say Thursday. You have until Thursday to complete this challenge. So let's get it done ahead of time if you're interested. And, we can see what that moment ultimately will entail. I'm curious to see how many mints we get of that. If you guys have any projections, throw them into the chat. I'm seeing a lot of comments with regards to people buying and just holding on to the pack, not even ripping it. And we have some people in the community that are big fans of that, holding 13 unopened packs. Rads, you are a madman. I would be out of my skin wanting to get that dopamine from ripping it open. Other interesting things, they had an office hours discussion where they talked about rare drops from the WNBA will be forthcoming. They're going to be releasing historic moments, which is super cool. And they will not be under the Run It Back banner, but they will be rare and you'll have an opportunity to score those or pick them up on the marketplace. And speaking of Run It Back, that's the other series that everyone is eagerly anticipating this summer. No news yet, but when we do, we will definitely put it into our community chat room as well as talk about it here on Hangtime so we all can strategize on what we plan to do to participate, whether or not we can qualify or possibly leverage the vault to participate. I certainly want to have the down mechanism in place so that we can do that and make sure our community has a chance to get this if it has an exorbitant collector score or whatever that would entail. And the other thing that I wanted to make mention is our committee is deep into the details of our NFL gamification. Details will be forthcoming this week because the NBA season starts on the 9th, but it looks like right now, I had headed into this conversation thinking we're going to come out of it with one gamification, similar like we did in Swish. But no, our committee has said that the football fans within Whale and the greater football community would love to have 4 opportunities to participate per week. So it looks like we will have 4, at the least 3 gamifications of the NFL, 3 prop bets, and 1 pick'em per week. Prizes for each. So these guys have stepped up to the plate and said they're down to do the tracking, make sure that we have some good chops busted each week relative to what is happening and who's putting stuff in. And I think this is cool because it gives an opportunity to people kind of learn the basic premise of fantasy sports, especially before we head back into basketball. You can take a look at, hey, who's going to score the most touchdowns, score the most, who's going to have the best defense, which player could throw for the most yards, and understand how these statistics could accumulate points and ultimately help your team win. And pick them, obviously, I've had people win in pick'em leagues because they just did it randomly or had their dog sniff the paper and choose which team was going to do what. So a lot of opportunity for everybody to participate. You don't have to be worried about, hey, I didn't get everything in on this one particular day. There will be multiple opportunities throughout the week for you guys to participate with the NFL, and we will have a lot of fun through the NFL season. So a big thanks to our committee who stepped up to the plate and is doing this for us. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun, and I am really excited about that. Speaking of which, tonight is my actual meet space, my in real life fantasy football draft, and I am so committed to you guys and some of the stuff that we are doing that I have my rotation of players that I want set up to auto draft. Yes, I'm going to auto draft, and I'm doing it for you guys, okay? So just know that sometimes when you got that one person in your league that left it on auto draft and is a pain in the ass, they did it for a reason. I'm doing it for the whale community. So with that, I know you guys probably have drafts of your own to prepare for. I will leave you to it. If you missed the beginning of this particular Hangtime episode, I would welcome you to check it out on Twitch. Hopefully, whoever was munching potato chips or if DC was using the bathroom, whatever was happening, it's not part of that recording. But if it is, go ahead and fast forward and skip to the good parts, and be sure to enjoy all the alpha that was dropped in the beginning. Until next time, you guys have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.